I feel I need to do a new video on Craig Denney's The Astrologer. This is a cult movie, if there ever was a cult movie. A cult movie looking for a cult, because this movie's only been resurfaced for a few years. It's a 1975, 76, 77 film. I mean, the origins of this film and how it was kind of exactly released and where it was released theatrically in the 70s, everything surrounding this film and everything surrounding the life of the filmmaker, this character, Craig Denney, it's a little bit murky, it's a little bit strange, it's a little bit, you don't know exactly what's going on. But I want to do a video on The Astrologer because there's a new article in online in Paste magazine about this film. The author saw the movie at a screening. The film has been screening around. It first resurfaced in 2013, I believe, when Alamo Drafthouse here in Austin, Texas, came into possession of a print, and they screened it as part of a festival of movies called the Endangered Fest. Films which, like an endangered animal, basically only one print of the film or one or two prints exist. And so they had a whole film festival. It was an all-night film festival of these movies which were, kind of, nobody knew what they were. It was the titles of the films were a mystery. But when we were coming into the film festival, it was all night. I mean, the festival started off at like 9 or 10 p.m. and then went into the morning of the next day. It was incredible. And I went to the film festival and I saw The Astrologer there. And it was the first movie of the night, and it was incredible. I've done another video about that, and I'm gonna post that link to that video as well, which is kind of, and I mean, it was like you go see, it was incredible. It was like you go see a concert, but the opening act is like Pink Floyd or Kiss or something, and it's like, why do I need to stay for the rest of the movies? There's nothing that's going to be able to top The Astrologer. And really, that night they showed a lot of stuff. They showed Henry Hathaway's last movie. They showed Ensalada Baudelaire. They showed The Dirty Dolls. I mean, there was a motley group of films I've never heard before, and it was great. But The Astrologer is an incredible film. How do I describe The Astrologer? It's kind of like the film programmer Lars Nilsson at the show. I still remember vividly he described it as kind of Harold Robbins kind of like rags to riches to rags story. It's about the director, writer, producer, everything. Craig Denney plays a character kind of like himself in the film, and the whole thing with Craig Denney is he said he was a guy a self-made millionaire from his computer astrology business, where he'd have computerized astrology charts, and apparently that's what financed this movie, The Astrologer, which is kind of this weird autobiographical kind of myth-making life story of this lead guy, Craig Denney. And but like Tommy Wiseau in The Room, you never really know exactly how. I mean, this is like a multi-million-dollar film shot in California and Tahiti and in different parts of the world, and I mean, with underwater shots on a sailboat, and I mean, all of this production value swirling around this movie. And you're like, I mean, this is millions of dollars of production value, and you're like, how did they make this movie? But the film starts with Craig Denney playing a character kind of based on himself. He's in a carnival, and he's doing like astrology, and then I mean, I was reading the article. The article gives a kind of a synopsis of the film, but I'm still going from my memory, and he gets in with this group of this man and this woman, and they're smuggling diamonds in in this like area. I think it's like in Africa or the Amazon. There's like diamond smugglers, and then they get into trouble there, and they get taken captive. And Craig Denney, with the money from the diamonds, talks his way out of it. And there's this voiceover throughout the film. There's this convoluted explanation of how he gets out of this thing, this being captured. And he goes back and he becomes like a millionaire because of his astrology. He becomes like a television personality. He becomes a nationwide personality. I mean, I guess it's this Craig Denney in his mind imagining himself, projecting himself, and he's like, yeah, and in the movie, and then in the movie he's like, I'm gonna make a movie about myself, and it's gonna be called The Astrologer. And that's when the movie, I mean, the movie's already been weird. I mean, it starts with a fucking circus and carnival, and then he's like going into these like deserted ruins like fucking Indiana Jones and doing diamond smuggling. And then there's these like, and somebody gets shot, and there's these like these just sudden, like no warning, just like sudden violence, just real sudden, like boom, 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 really violent. And then there's the part of the movie where he starts making the movie about himself, and he's like, I'm gonna call the movie The Astrologer. And so he's like making the movie, so the movie that's about the movie is inside the movie, and so the movie becomes like twisting and turning in at itself. And then there is the decline, the ruin, and you know, he has a big fight with his wife, and there's this incredible scene. The only thing that which I can relate it to where he's arguing with his wife. There's a scene where he's arguing with his wife, and it begins at a kind of a even keel, and then as they go on, they're just yelling, screaming at each other in slow motion and throwing things around, and it's all set to one of the greatest rock music tracks ever from Procol Harum, Grand Hotel. It's Serenade and Saraband, da 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 da, and it's just like this sweeping operatic thing, and you see the dissolution of this relationship in this one scene, slow motion at a table. You know, it reminded me of, in a way, a kind of a version of Citizen Kane, with those dissolves and the relationship between Kane and his wife over the breakfast table, the breakfast nook, and how it changes, and just within a few minutes you see their whole relationship kind of dissolve. Is that, I mean, it's that kind of thing, different in a different, you know, made in a different way with slow motion scored to Procol Harum, but it was just like, what the fuck is going on? It was just an incredible scene. It's burnt into my brain, that scene, Procol Harum, Grand Hotel. And then throughout the film, there's all of this like rock music. There's moody blues. There's a scene where he's on the sailboat, he's coming home, and it's like this high seas. It felt almost like there was like helicopter shots or something going around this frickin' boat. And it's scored to, it's scored to one of Moody Blues' like their orchestral interludes on their albums between their songs. In the new Pace magazine article, the guy said it was like Tuesday afternoon, but I thought it was like Nights in White Satin, the orchestral interlude between that. But I think he's right. I don't know. My mind is it was just like Moody Blues orchestral interlude music in between, and it's like, and there's music throughout the entire film. The main is the Moody Blues and then Grand Hotel. And it was the 70s. It was the 70s where you could do stuff like that. I mean, it was before home video, and it was a lot, the attitude of the music licensing was catch me while you can. Catch me if you can, really. It was like in X-rated adult movies, which were totally illegal. They were made by no one, seen by no one. It was the real under the table. You would hear Pink Floyd and the Rolling Stones and Moody Blues in those adult movies. And then even in regular movies, I mean, the music licensing was a lot simpler. According to Peter Fund and Dennis Hopper back in the day, you just had to get the songwriter's permission, and there was a lot less red tape of these things. And music licenses were for theatrical. There was no, the contracts didn't have home video in them. And I mean, so there were a lot of films made in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s which had, you know, popular music, and it's caused problems with releasing them home video. There's been a lot of companies like the guys who released the Kenneth Anger films, and Kenneth Anger has this, you know, he has all of these pop music, you know, in his films, and they just kind of decide, you know, we're just going to go with it. We're just going to release it and, you know, see if anybody, you know, cries foul. And there's been some other companies who have been releasing adult movies. They're just kind of like, oh, we're just going to go, you know, we're just going to release it and see what happens. So maybe that's one of the things that's kind of prevented this film from getting out, the music licensing. But it's obscurity. It's an incredible, and so it's, okay, again, from rags to riches to rags, he goes through all this thing, he has an argument with his wife, and then it ends with this quote. It's the weirdest ending in the world. But I don't know if I've done the film justice. I mean, you gotta really read these articles on this guy Craig Denney, who was like, who was he? Where did he get this money? It was very, it's like Tommy Wiseau, but the thing is, he's been, and Craig Denney, apparently a mysterious death, but then according to some people in the article, they have a feeling that he could have faked his death. And I mean, what's going on with the astrology business? Was it a real business? What happened? What, you know, it's a weird, I mean, the life of Craig Denney and the life of the astrologer. And the whole thing also, when I ran out of the theater, the one thing that I started shouting to everyone, because we had an intermission after the movie, is it's just like Duke Mitchell's Massacre Mafia style. It's just like, I mean, and nobody was listening to me. They were all, I mean, in my mind, everybody was still spaced because they were like, what the, we got just hit by a cinephile, like, underground movie train. I mean, it was like we were in the, I mean, it was like, ooh, what just hit us? You know, everybody, but my immediate thing was, it's this idiosyncratic work, 70s work, made by one man who seemed to do everything. It's this egotistical type of thing, and with sudden utterances of violence. Even the music, the feel of the film, the style of the film reminded me a hell of a lot of Massacre Mafia style and Duke Mitchell. And I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know about, I mean, it's a weird movie. I mean, I was able to track down Duke Mitchell's son and you know, make a movie based on you know, Duke Mitchell and Jeffrey Mitchell and everything. But I don't, I mean, it's such a, I mean, The Astrologer is such a weird, I mean, even talking about it right now and reliving the memories of watching that movie in the theater and just going, what the hell was going on? It's, I mean, when you read an article about this guy, Craig Denney, how he made this, and it's real murky, the creation of this movie, and then in the late 70s, early 80s, he was involved in this, and I didn't even know about this documentary, this ocean documentary. And then there was a lawsuit associated with this documentary, and then Craig Denney somehow at one point died. He died either in the late 70s or the mid to late 80s, or, you know, it's it's so confusing and strange, and you know, even the article has a quote by one of his business partners and friends going like, I don't even know if this guy you know, faked his own death. Weird. It's a weird story, and you know, I don't know if anybody wants to research this. You don't know, you turn over a stone and you don't know what you're gonna see underneath. It's a weird story, and probably a lot of stuff going on, a lot of skeletons and a lot of closets and a lot of strange things happening surrounding this Craig Denney character. Millions of dollars, this film, The Astrologer, And so I guess it was just without Craig Denney, without a distributor, without this, and probably some investors over here, investors over there. What happened? Da, 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 da. Suddenly, the Draft House, Alamo Draft House, finds a print of this, comes into possession of a print of this, along with a bunch of other prints, and they screen it. The film print itself, beautiful looking. I mean, this thing looked like it had been hermetically sealed since the 70s. I mean, there were some minor things, but the color of it, the color was like, so saturated. It was like watching, it was like going into a time machine, going back into the 70s and watching a crisp, like, it looked like an answer print. You know, like a high quality print that they look at to screen the movie, to actually get an idea what the movie looks like. It looked like, I mean, it was just the incredibleness of the print. And Draft House, along with their nonprofit, the American Genre Film Archive, AGFA, AGFA crowdfunded a transfer, a digital transfer, a 2K scan of the Astrologer. And so now what's going on here is that the Astrologer is showing around, and I'm assuming they're not shipping the film print because it played in Los Angeles at the now defunct Cinefamily, and then it's been playing around in other theaters. And I'm assuming that they're just screening the digital print. So I guess the only way to watch the movie right now is to go to a screening or organize a screening yourself, go to AGFA and rent the print. My God, it's a rewarding, it's a weird, if you're into like the WTF, the underground, the cult, the Duke Mitchell, the Massacre Mafia style, that type of stuff, the idiosyncratic, like where, who, why was this made? This is like at the pinnacle of that. I mean, it's an incredible movie. It's an incredible, and I mean, it delivers. It talks the talk and it walks the walk, and it is the straight. You leave the movie with more questions than answers about who is this guy? Who is this guy? And how did this film get made? So there it is, the Astrologer. I'm sure many more articles will be written on it. Hopefully more information about the film will slowly kind of come out, filter out. You know, it's just like Massacre Mafia style, more information filtered out. And, you know, like Black Devil Doll from Hell, that came out, you know, and more info came out. The director, Chester Turner, kind of. So, you know, there's always time. There's always time for this stuff to come out, for the mysteries to be solved. And then I'm sure once that mystery's solved, there'll be more mysteries and more what happened, more WTFs. But the Astrologer is quite a film. And if you love cult movies, you should be obligated to track it down.